But before we get into that, it's time for gaming news. Hear it, gaming news. So, join me, Dylan. We're going to be talking about the news of the day or of the week, of the past, whatever. There's some interesting stuff going on. Now, I just been talking about Game Pass. Game Pass is about to get even more robust. So we're already getting like Microsoft Day 1s, we're getting EA games, and it sounds like Ubisoft may be adding their Ubisoft Plus service to Game Pass. They've announced that Rainbow Six Extraction, which is the newest Rainbow Six game, is going to launch Day 1 on January 20th on Game Pass.
Nice.
So I ain't got to pay for it if I want to try it out.
Perfect.
It's on Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass for PC gamers as well. From the statement that they released, they mentioned the Rainbow Six Extraction release on Game Pass is just the beginning. Ultimately, they are going to offer the Ubisoft Plus subscription service to Xbox owners on Game Pass so they can enjoy the full extent of the Ubisoft Plus game library, including new releases on the consoles. Now, they didn't give a date for this yet, but that just already further heightens the value of an already extremely valuable service. There are so many games I've played on Game Pass that I didn't have to pay for.
I know, but I was the same before I bought my PlayStation 4. I had Game Pass on my Xbox One, and I was the same. I was downloading games left, right, and centre, and then when I got my PlayStation 4, my daughter actually nicked my Xbox One, so I didn't get to play it again. But yeah, I thought the service was awesome. I thought there was some brilliant games on there.
Hey, if you don't mind me asking, how old is your daughter?
She's 7. So yeah, she pretty much uses the Xbox One for Disney Plus and Netflix, and a little bit of Disney Infinity she plays. That's pretty much it.
Has she tried out that Paw Patrol game that Derek was talking about last week?
She's not really in. She used to be into Paw Patrol, but it's now like Disney princess stuff and everything she's in. I loved it before. See, when she was 3, she was right into Marvel. I don't know how she got into it. I think it was one time a cartoon was on and she just loved the Avengers. So much so that we actually took her to see Endgame. I think she was maybe about 4 at the time. Never thought she would sit through it, but she sat through the whole movie and she was just absolutely glued to it. Wow. But now, unfortunately, it's Disney princesses. It's no more Avengers anymore.
That's her new cinematic universe, the Disney Princess cinematic universe.
Yeah, unfortunately. And LOL and all this sort of stuff.
Hey, if she's into it, it is all right. I mean, technically, Princess Leia, I think, is a Disney princess now. So
yeah, she was big on Star Wars as well. She actually watched like we were talking earlier, The Mandalorian with me. And again, she got quite emotional at the very last episode as well with the big scene. So that was quite cool, sharing that with her. My wife had no interest in it, but yeah, me and my daughter sat and watched that. So that was quite cool getting to share that moment with her.
That's extremely cool. You had mentioned, with your PlayStation 4, then you got your PlayStation 5 coming soon. Congratulations, by the way. It's so
Thank you. Buzzing for that.
Yeah, they announced this week PlayStation VR 2. No official dates have been given about its release, but we know that it's going to be PlayStation 5 only. And we know that Guerrilla Games, the people who make the Horizon Zero Dawn series, they're working on a launch title, I think, with an original Horizon character for the PS VR 2. Also, the VR headset has head and eye tracking. So the head tracking would eliminate the need for the PlayStation camera. The eye tracking means that looking in a different direction without moving your head can create additional input for the game character and help the player interact more in lifelike ways in the game. So there's been other headsets, I believe, like the Vive, I think, also has been experimenting with eye tracking. So it's not a new technology, but it sounds like they're putting a lot more effort into it. And to be honest, traditionally, PlayStation VR has been kind of on the low end in regards to resolution and power, but it's also been more affordable.
Yeah.
So,
have you played any of the PSVR, just on curiosity? I've never actually played it. I've seen games and things, but I've never actually played it. Have you played it yourself? Or?
Yeah, I have. I've described my experience a few times earlier on in the show. But to sum it up, I get VR sickness.
So I do remember you saying that on one of your previous shows. It's only so long you can be in there.
Yeah. So there's only so long I can be in there. So yeah, I have played it, and it's indescribable. You really do. Your brain just thinks you're there. Just look around you right now. Look at if there's a desk in front of you, there's a chair next to you. Your relationship in your space. You feel like you can reach out and pick up the thing in front of you and put it somewhere else if you want. You have that same feeling when you're in a VR game. There's no other way to describe it. Like, you're just there. And the fact that the technology is expanding to track eye movements and other things, and it's becoming less cords and less cumbersome, I think that eventually VR will be more of a mainstay in gaming. I think right now the barriers are setup, space, and cost. Cost being the big thing.
That's it.
So I'm happy about it, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if I'm going to be an early adopter because I still need to get my VR legs, so to speak.
Yeah. Does that come with time then? Is that a true thing that they say that the more you spend in the VR, you must get acclimatized to it? Or
some
do you think
people can play it immediately and they're fine, and other folks, it's like you know people who get car sick, right?
Yeah.
It may just take some time. You may have to take some medication. Maybe you get vertigo. I don't know. I don't know because, honestly, the detriment of getting sick while playing VR outweighs me wanting to practice it. If it was just pop on a headset and play for a bit, maybe it'd be easier. But I got to, like, re-plug in my cords. I have to plug in my HDMI to something else. It's a lot just so I can play for a single hour and hopefully not get sick.
Yeah. It does seem a bit messy with that side of it, to be honest.
Yeah, again, depending on which unit you buy, there are VR headsets that have a lot less setup. But in regards to PlayStation VR, there's so many cords and mess that you have to screw around with. To me, it just takes too long to play a game for a very little amount of time. So I haven't done it much outside of maybe like the first 6 months I've had it. And then I was playing it like almost every day, and I still didn't quite get used to it, if that says anything. So, all right, I don't know if you heard about this. Shaquille O'Neal was making news for giving away 1,000 Switches and 1,500 PS5s to kids on Christmas. Now, where he got these PS5s, I have no idea. Most of us can really get one, but he got 1,500.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, he was quoted as saying that he knows what it's like to struggle, and there's a lot of kids on Christmas who get nothing, and he's had a few Christmases like that, and he wanted to do what he could to give back. I think he went to a school in Georgia and just surprised the kids with all this stuff. And on its face, the story sounds very positive, and I don't want to take away from the act of charity. I think it's a very thoughtful gesture, and I think it's a nice thing to do. However, I feel like sometimes when we hear about stories where rich people donate something to underprivileged kids, especially here in America, I don't know what politics are like in Scotland. Yeah. All I can think about is how rich people are also constantly buying off lawmakers to ensure that they stay rich and the poor stay poor. Yeah. To me, a more feel-good story would be Shaq petitioned Congress to change a law allowing kids to be able to go to school and not be so hard for them to get like lunch paid for them, or something to uplift all those families out of poverty rather than giving them like a Band-Aid for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's a bit like that over here as well, to be honest.
Fair enough. Yeah. So nice gesture, but rich people, if you're listening, we're going to need something else. We're going to need you to stop putting Band-Aids on the problem that you're helping create and actually make some substantive change, please. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
On to happier news. There is a rumor going around based on a recent leak of achievements that Rare employees were getting on Xbox that Goldeneye is going to be ported to Xbox and likely will probably drop on Game Pass because that's how Game Pass do. So if you were holding out on Nintendo Switch Online for that Goldeneye to come through, maybe get yourself an Xbox, because it sounds like N64's Goldeneye may drop on Xbox before it does Nintendo, which to me, I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I'm buzzing about this. When you gave me the heads up on this one, I ended up down the rabbit hole of YouTube just trying to find as much information as I could. Yeah. I absolutely loved Goldeneye. On the N64.
Did you see anything interesting when you were kind of perusing the YouTubes?
Not really much at them. It's all sort of hearsay at the minute from the videos I was seeing. It's really just a wait and see, I think, isn't it, to see what they're going to do with it. Will they change any of it? Will they keep it exactly the same? Will we get new levels, multiplayer, how that's going to work? I mean, I remember when we were younger playing it, obviously had the 4 split screen. And
Right.
I don't know if you guys were the same, but you would run with your gun facing the floor because you knew the map so well that
And
one
you didn't want them
glimpse
to
at your
screen watch.
friend's screen, you knew exactly where they were, or you'd be hiding in the toilet facing the roof with a gun because you knew you couldn't quite tell where they were. But that was, for me, that was just N64 was that game, was Goldeneye.
And you
I
had
loved
that one
game.
kid that would always pick Odd Job and everybody hated him. Like, what? No,
Yeah.
he's banned.
Exactly.
Well, I tell you, this would be a chance for Xbox to flex on Nintendo because they had a less than stellar launch of Nintendo Switch Online for N64 emulation.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't personally had a ton of problems with it, but I'm not going to negate or say that other people's problems aren't like valid. But if Xbox can cleanly and efficiently recreate that experience by re-releasing GoldenEye with no problems, it's not going to be a good look for Nintendo for sure.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That was something I was really buzzing about, so I'll be keeping my eye on that.
For sure, me too. The president of Square Enix released a letter this week that got a lot of people buzzing. I saw people ripping this apart on Twitter. It is probably some of the most tone-deaf, ridiculous drivel I've ever heard a CEO spout about gaming. I think I copied down a snippet. Okay, so here's a quote from the letter, and I'm going to link it in the show notes along with the breakdown that James Stephanie Sterling did because they eviscerated this letter, and I think that they did it more perfectly than I ever could, but here's a part of it here if you want to hear it. I realize that some people who, quote, play to have fun, end quote, and who currently form the majority of players have voiced their reservations towards these new trends, talking about NFTs, and understandably so. However, I believe that there will be a certain number of people whose motivation is to, quote, play to contribute, end quote, by which I mean to help make the game more exciting. And they go on to talk microtransaction and games as a service nonsense. Like, it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that not only did they make this public, it's still up. Like, I checked the link yesterday to go, sure, they would have taken this down by now, and they haven't. It's insane. CEOs are just a different breed of people. I don't understand how you can just operate on a different level of reality from everybody else, and there's just nobody around to go, hey, no.
Yeah. It's like they're scared to do that, though. That's probably what it is.
So, non-fungible tokens, or nasty fucking things, as they're known around my circle, they're probably here to stay, and unfortunately, I think they're going to have a pretty monumentally detrimental effect on gaming moving forward, but we're going to have to keep our eye on those things to make sure. I really sincerely enjoy the schadenfreude from the backlash of this letter, and I hope that people continue to be upset and outraged by these types of things, because I think that's the only thing that's going to affect change. Did you get a chance to read the letter? I don't know if you looked it over.
I've not had a chance, no, but I'm going to have a look at it after this podcast, after you highlighted it to
It's
me.
a fun read, and by fun, I mean gross.
Yeah, it's definitely one I'll be sitting having a coffee reading over, without a doubt.
Yeah. More Xbox news. Xbox started disabling dev mode accounts, so like developer mode accounts, this week. And it was originally speculated when this started happening that they were removing accounts set up for emulation because DuckStation and other popular emulators, and I've done this too, can be run on an Xbox One or a Series X or a Series S if you run the Xbox in developer mode. All you have to do is pay $20 for the right, and then you get it set up, and then you can partition off a section of the memory of the console, download your emulator and your games, and boom, you're playing PlayStation 1 games or RetroArch or whatever on your Xbox. It's pretty cool. I've done it.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do this, and when you gave me the heads up on this, I ended up down the rabbit hole of YouTube, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, how did I not know about this? I have never heard of this before. And this is something that's right up my street.
Yeah, I did a
even know about
TikTok
it.
where I ran Legacy of Kain for a bit on it, and I did it to DuckTales because it's called DuckStation, and I just thought that was funny.
Nice. I'm going to have to look at this more then. It's completely bypassed me, this one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a roundabout way of saying basically that people thought they were removing the dev accounts because people were only using them for emulation. But a recent statement was clarifying that that's actually not the case. It was a mistake, and they are reinstating any accounts that may have been disabled as the result of the error. I actually checked my account, and my dev mode account is still active, so they didn't hit me, whatever. But while I was going down the rabbit hole of this, I did learn that currently you can now run emulators in retail mode, which means you don't have to switch back and forth between retail and dev mode. And now I kind of want to test that out. So I might be looking
definitely.
running some emulators without having to switch my Xbox mode, because it's a little cumbersome. You can't run retail mode while you're running dev mode and vice versa. So it's not like I can switch back and forth between Mass Effect Legendary Edition and Duck Station.
Yeah. So what does that involve to switch between the two then? How do you go about doing that?
You go into the App Store and there's a dev mode kit activation tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a way that you can start up your Xbox in dev mode by like pressing a combination of buttons, but I find it's just easier to hit my activation app, and then it restarts my console in dev mode. And then I can access my emulator, and then from there, the emulator will run any games I either have stored on my Xbox, or you can set up a network and have the games just pulled directly from your PC via your wireless connection, which a lot of people like to do to save space. The catch is, in order to play my other games or play my Xbox in retail mode, I have to restart the Xbox again, back into retail mode, and remember to uncheck the box that tries to delete all of my dev mode programs every single time I restart back to retail mode. It's like a default.
Right.
Which I did. I spent all this time downloading the Duck Station, customizing it, getting all my settings right, and then I accidentally deleted it when I switched back to retail mode, and I had to do it all over again.
Oh, no.
But still, the opportunity to play Duck Station on Xbox is great because of the power of the Series X. I can overclock these games to run at 60 frames per second, and they looked gorgeous. I could even speed them up if I wanted to and kind of make my own like special editions out of like regular classic ROMs. It's great.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really good.
So there's some videos out there, of course, on YouTube that'll teach you how to do it. But with a little bit of elbow grease and a little bit of know-how and tweaking, you can get these games running beautifully than they've ever ran. So
nice.
Good stuff.
That's very cool.